Books that changed my life, and believe me, you're not expecting this one. Today we're gonna talk about no other than Twilight by Stephanie Meyer. If you don't know what that is, you're probably been living under a rock because a few years ago, about 10, it was all the rage. There's this main character named Bella, she's in love with a vampire named Edward, there's a werewolf named Jacob, and there's like a whole love triangle and a whole series of 4 books following them. I believe it was very, very popular because it was one of the first to break through to the public, like have a movie made and discover these themes in a more commercial level. Why did that change my life though? And the reason is really simple. I was in 7th grade when I read this book, and I read it in Hebrew, and I really, really needed to know what happens next. The problem is New Moon was only out in English, there was no translation to Hebrew. So what I had to do is get the book in English and read it, even though my English back then wasn't as good as it was now. And I was sitting for hours with a dictionary, translating each word I didn't know just to understand, just to know what's going to happen next. And this kind of dedication was what made it possible for me to write in English today and to speak in English today. It was the beginning of my journey with books in general. When I finished the book series, or at least what was out back then, my English really jumped to another level. And I told my parents, I want to pursue this, I want to read more in English. And they actually signed me up to Berlitz, which is a private school for English. And I had this teacher named Vicky, she was British and she was amazing. I met with her every week, and I would read a book that week in English and then do a book report, and it was a whole thing. And because of her, I have the English I do today. And even though English is my second language, my vocabulary and the way that I write is relatively good, I would say, if I can say so myself. Well, hopefully you'll read my book and then you will tell me how well I write in English. But I really do believe if that didn't happen to me back then with Twilight, it probably would have happened with another book. But it did with Twilight, so it did essentially change my life.